If a teacher says, that boy with the bushy hair, come here, who do you think they mean and who do you think we turn? Exactly. But here's the real question. Why is natural hair called bushy, but straight hair is never called that? Why did one texture become normal and the other became a problem? Have you ever heard a white person's hair described as bushy? Because I haven't, and that's not a coincidence. Hi everyone, welcome or welcome back to our Learning Diaries, where we talk about social issues, personal growth, and conversation that we often avoid but we need to talk about. So let's get straight into the video. Teachers often use the word bushy to describe hair that is longer than the school standard. Parents use it, relatives use it, even random people on the street use it. In many African countries, the word bushy is casually used to describe natural hair that grows out from our scalp in its full texture. To them, it just makes sense. But equating natural black hair to a bush is not as harmless or as simple as it may sound. Because when people say bushy, look at their facial expression. What do they really mean? What they really mean is dirty, unkept, scattered, unruly, wild. And the question is, why? Why is hair growing naturally from a black person's head associated with something wild and disorderly? Meanwhile, straight hair is described as silky straight, and when it is described as messy, as in messy bun, it is seen as cute. Are you serious? When straight hair exists, it is aesthetic. But when kinky hair exists, it becomes a problem. But it was not always like this. Before colonialism, what hair meant to us? For many African societies, hair carried deep meaning. It signified spirituality, age, marital status, tribe, identity. Hair was not just hair. It was culture, it was art, it was pride, it was communication. So what changed? Colonialism and rebranding of blackness. In countries like Nigeria, colonialism did not just bring political control. It brought education system, it brought Christianity, it brought Western standard, it brought civilization. But here's the thing. You cannot impose your culture on people without first making them feel inferior about theirs. So what did the colonial system do? They demonized what made Africans African, our religion, our language, our culture, and yes, our hair. There are historical accounts showing that in the early mission school, one of the conditions for being admitted is shaving the head. Natural hair was labeled improper. European grooming standard was labeled the standard for cleanliness. And because these systems were tied to education and opportunity, people complied, not because they hated their hair, but because survival requires conformity. That's how something cultural became something pushy. Now, let's bring it to today. In many secondary schools across Nigeria, Ghana, Uganda, and other West and East African countries, you can plait your hair to write the entrance exam. You can even get admitted with your hair, but immediately you want to register fully. Cut it. And what does that tell you? It tells you that black hair cannot exist side by side with education. It is seen as a distraction, inconvenient, non-uniform. They say it promotes cleanliness and equality, that making hair is a distraction, that students will focus more on their hair than academics. But here's the contradiction. In some of these schools, mixed race and white students are allowed to keep their hair. It already fits into the standard of what the school considers as neat. They are not forced to shave it. They still pass their exam and excel academically. So if hair is truly a distraction, why does it only distract black people with coily or kinky texture? If straight or loosely textured hair can exist in the same classroom without affecting performance, then the issue is not distraction. The issue is which textured hair is considered acceptable. So the rule is called uniform, but it is not truly uniform. And if you were never given a chance to truly love and appreciate your hair, when are you going to grow to start loving the hair? No wonder a lot of people relax their hair these days. We were never taught to see our natural texture as normal. My personal realization. Growing up, I never questioned any of this. I attended a Catholic all-girls school. We were all black. We were all treated equal, so it felt normal. But let me tell you what normal looked like. Teachers would bring in scissors to the assembly ground and use their own hand as measurement. If your hair passes their finger, it was bushy. And the standard kept changing. What was acceptable today could be long tomorrow. And the length kept getting shorter and shorter. Once they decided it was too long, they cut it right there. Not evenly, not carefully. One side could be longer and the other is completely bald. And sometimes they deliberately cut the front part of the hair so everybody could see it. Sometimes the back of the head, sometimes the side. One side could be almost bald and the other is full. It wasn't about fixing the hair, it was about embarrassment. And sometimes they would collect our caps and send us home like that so everybody could see it. And to them, that was punishment, humiliation. Some students cried, some were embarrassed, and at that point in time, your hair stopped being just hair. It becomes shame, more or less an inconvenience. It becomes something that brings you trouble. And that is where some people have learned to hate their hair. Because when something constantly causes humiliation, you start wishing it didn't exist. So, yes, I didn't question it then. But looking back at it now, normal doesn't always mean harmless. Many African countries gained independence decades ago. Nigeria gained independence in 1960, yet these discriminatory hair policies still exist. Now, people say it is not colonialism anymore. It is just our culture. It is discipline. But policies don't just disappear because colonizers leave. Impact remain. Mindsets remain. Systems remain. The fact that black administrators now enforce this policy does not erase where the standard came from. It just showed how deeply it was internalized. So, what can be done? Here are four things that can shift the conversation. Minister of Education and other policymakers need to reevaluate this area and acknowledge its discriminatory roots. Students should stand up and resist these hair policies. In 2016, students at a South African high school courageously protested and spoke out against the discriminatory ban on Afro hair. Their activism sparked national debate and conversation, which eventually led to the amendment of some of these hair policies. Parents need to recognize the psychological impact. If a child is constantly being told that their natural state is improper, what does that do to their self esteem? Silence protects the system, not the victims. There's only so much a child can do if their parents don't back them up. Schools must ask, are we truly promoting discipline or are we unconsciously promoting conformity to Eurocentric standard? So, next time someone says your hair is bushy, pause. Because that word carries history, it carries colonial impact, it carries generation of conditioning, and maybe, just maybe, it's time we stop calling our natural hair by names that were never natural to begin with. And this doesn't stop in childhood. In my next video, we'll discuss what happened when these bushy children grow up. I'm still new here on YouTube, so if this message resonated, please subscribe so it could reach more people. And don't forget to like and share this video, it really helps. See you in the next one.